Johnson-Cawthon. I am the host of the Elevate Talk Show.
And I'm Adriana Cawthon, your co-host, and we're the mother-daughter talk show that's here to elevate your family. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't done so already, please take a second to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our episodes.
Exactly. And we have a great episode planned for you today. On today's show, we're going to be going around the town to none other than St. Louis, Missouri, a great place to visit. And so you want to stay with us and check out our adventures in St. Louis. Also, in this week's In the Spotlight interview, we will be interviewing a great friend of mine. His name is Prince Martin III. Prince is a professional saxophonist, a musician, and he's going to be talking to us about how to balance life as a musician, who travels and goes on the road for various different gigs, along with his other responsibilities as husband and as father. So tune in for that interview. And finally, last but not least, Adriana and I are going to be in our how-to segment talking about something that we think is really important, and that is how to help your children navigate social media safely. So stay with us for that. And that brings me to the question of the week, which is this: what age do you think kids should be able to be on social media? What age do you think kids should be able to be on social media? Take a minute and answer that question for us in the comments section of our YouTube channel. So we're looking forward to reading and looking at your answers to that question.
So for the past few weeks, we have been doing an exercise challenge called the Step Into Summer Challenge, where my mom and I are trying to see who can get in the most steps by the end of 8 weeks.
Yes.
And we want you to all stay tuned for our final update, our grand finale,
Yes.
in 3 weeks once we come back from our break.
Amen. That's great. And so please stay with us. We're going to take a break, but don't go away. Well, we are back, and in this segment of the show, we're going to be doing an In the Spot interview with saxophonist and professional musician Prince Martin III. And let me tell you a little bit about Prince. Prince Martin is a professional saxophonist and has performed music for the past 4 decades. Prince states that his music comes with a message and that it was born to glorify God. He wants to share his music with humanity to show the true message of love and hope. And so stay tuned and watch our video interview with Prince Martin. Take a look. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, Prince, and being with my audience today. We really appreciate it. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you do as a professional musician. So let's just take it from the top. First of all, when did you realize that being a musician was going to be your life's work?
Well, as I alluded to earlier, I started in the 5th grade.
Wow.
My dad was a high school band director. He taught here in Atlanta, Turner High School, for 12 years.
Wow.
So I was surrounded by him being with the band and doing what he did as a director, and all that comes with that territory. I, as a youngster, sometimes when you look at your parents, certain things rub off on you.
Yes.
And I believe that was one of the things that rubbed off on me. And so going to a lot of the football games and watching the marching band and watching him at home arrange these scores and do these drills for the marching band to do at halftime, it kind of made an impression on me. That was how it all got started.
And then
and so
now you went on to UGA, didn't you?
I did go to UGA. I felt like I had the calling
Wow.
to pursue this thing seriously.
Right.
And I pursued it seriously and got some financial help
Yes.
from my professor
Good.
to help me go to school. And
That's
he really saw
wonderful.
something in me Me being a little black kid from Atlanta,
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to a prestigious school like that, being
yes,
a minority, that was
right.
a big deal.
Oh, yes, yeah. And so, like you said, fast forwarding, I want to know, what does a typical week, if there is a typical week, what does a typical work week look like for you? How does that look?
A typical work week for me.
Yes,
Now, let me backtrack before I bring it to present tense.
yes,
I used to work a 9 to 5 job for
that's right.
22 years at SunTrust Bank.
Oh, wow.
And that was, in the beginning, it was a blessing because
Right.
we all need income, right?
That's right. That's right. Like you
But
said
then,
before, we the children like to eat and they like clothes and all that kind of good
and,
stuff.
and they want the lights to stay on.
They all they do. They do.
So I continued my 9 to 5 job, but
Hmm.
my passion was always music. I
Mm.
didn't know how or what method or plan of action, if you will, that God
Mhm.
had in store for me, but
Mhm.
I knew that I really wanted to do this thing.
Mm.
So every weekend, of course, in the early days, you're trying to build your brand, you're trying to get
Sure.
people to know who you are,
Mhm.
and nobody wants to ever give you a chance.
I know. Isn't that the
you know,
truth?
you I had
Yeah.
a degree and everything,
I
and they were
mean,
just like,
goodness.
well, you need some more exposure.
I was
Exposure.
like, I'm
If you
trying.
don't give me a chance, how will I get
Exactly.
that exposure?
Exactly. Exactly.
And so
Yep.
I played many events.
Oh my goodness.
Some in the beginning were free. I
Hmm.
did birthday parties,
Yeah. Oh
anniversaries,
my goodness.
revivals,
Oh my
um,
goodness. Everything.
malls, coffee shops,
Yeah. Yeah.
barbecue,
Oh
backyard
my goodness.
barbecues, food
Really?
party. You do all of that. And then eventually you realize your worth
Yes.
because you're doing all this stuff and people just, all they're doing is applauding.
Oh
But it
my.
takes gas to get
It
there. It
does.
takes time to prepare for those, even though they were just little small backyard or little
Hmm.
tiny little events, they were
Hmm.
important.
Right.
So I realized that I needed to really pursue this thing, but I
Mhm.
couldn't do it for free.
Right.
So I maintained my 9 to 5 job
Hmm.
because I still had a family.
Sure.
And every day, every weekend, I still had little minor gigs here and there. And as time evolved,
Wow.
major gigs started coming. And I
Wow.
started saying, yes, I can do it. And that's it. That opened doors for other opportunities to still say
Sure.
yes.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, sometimes my day job got in the way.
Wow.
Sometimes I would have to work maybe the first weekend, first
Yeah.
Saturday of each month with a day job.
Yeah.
And that may be a major event happening musically that I had to say no to.
Oh,
And that's
wow.
very,
Yeah. That's
disheartening or
hard.
disconcerting, if you will, to say no. Not that I was getting a whole lot of money
Right.
at those gigs, but still, it was opportunity.
Sure.
And so
Mm. Yeah.
sometimes if you say no too many times in the music world, the
Yes.
phone will stop ringing. And you
Yeah.
want to be able to say yes. The only reason
Definitely.
you want to say no now is if you have another engagement that's already on the calendar, and
Sure.
maybe we can reschedule something for a
Sure.
future date,
Sure.
or if it's a life, situation
Yeah.
with a
Sure.
family,
Sure.
things like
Right.
that. So I just
Sure.
knew what I had to do, knew what I wanted to do, and I just
Mhm.
kept the faith, kept
Yeah.
going forward, and God kept opening doors, and I kept
Wow.
stepping in them. And
Wow.
it was a leap of faith. 2018, December of 2018, I made an executive decision.
Hmm.
I'm leaving this 9 to 5. The kids are
Wow.
older now.
Wow.
They can fend for themselves.
Yes.
And my faith was much stronger. And
Yes.
so I knew that God was not going to let me down.
Hmm.
And so I kept going.
Hmm.
And here it is, 2021.
Hmm.
2019
Yeah.
was a whole year of faith where
Yes.
God provided. The
Yeah.
lights were never turned out. We
Praise
still ate
God.
every day.
Praise
We all
God.
had clothes on,
Yes.
and 2020 was supposed to have been even better than that.
I
But
know,
then came
but
the pandemic.
yeah. But what's been the most rewarding part of what you do? This is a two-part question. What's been the most
Okay.
rewarding, but also what's been the most challenging part? But first answer the rewarding part.
The rewarding part is actually living my dream.
Yeah.
A lot of kids, a lot of people have
Mhm.
dreams that they never,
Yeah.
ever get a chance to
You're
see.
right. Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
just like something that they're wishing, but
Yeah.
never happens.
Yeah.
And so for me to be able to see it happen, to see it
Hmm.
unfold, of
Hmm.
course, if it would, in my control,
Mhm.
I would have done it years ago, but it
Sure.
wasn't God's timing.
The other part was, what has been the most challenging for you, most frustrating or challenging?
Well, as many successes as I have had,
Yeah.
there have been lots of frustrations. There would be times when the phone wasn't ringing.
Oh,
There
wow.
would be times when I would get undercut by
Yeah.
someone else.
Oh,
You
wow.
state your price, somebody else, gives a lower bid, or
Sure.
and of course the client goes with the cheaper price.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And
This
if
is
you try
true.
to compete with that,
Yeah.
you're lowering your standards.
Sure.
You are, I don't know, conforming to, you
Yeah.
know, kind of a malice approach.
Yeah.
And so there would be times when I would
Mhm.
be really disheartened.
Mhm.
And I had
Mhm.
to learn over time that know your value,
Definitely.
stand behind your value, and
Mhm.
don't bend. So there were
Wow.
times when I said no to opportunity
Mhm.
because somebody was not willing to
Mhm.
pay my price. And
Wow.
I would say, you know what, I really appreciate you reaching out to me,
Sure.
but this is my price, and
Right.
this is what it's going to take to make this happen.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
feel free to keep my number.
That's
So
exactly
when
right.
things are better on your end,
That's right. You can
it's
call
all
me
good.
again. Exactly.
Right.
I think that is an important thing for not just musicians, but people who are entrepreneurs, who business owners. I think the temptation would be to just take anything and everything, but I think you do
Hmm.
have to draw that line and set those boundaries. Otherwise, you really can't really grow when you don't have any kind of real boundaries and structure. So I think that's an important point that you made, and I'm hoping that people who are listening to this interview will get that in their spirits. I think
Yeah,
that's really
stand your
powerful.
ground,
Definitely.
even though you're saying no.
Yeah, definitely,
That's hard.
definitely. Wow, it is hard. Now, I guess the thing I would ask you as we wrap up is, what one, and I'm sure there's lots of advice, you've been in the business a long time, but if you had to share one piece of advice to someone who was going down this route, who's looking to um, to be a professional musician, maybe even has a family like you, has children, looking to take that leap of faith, do that next thing, like you talked about, what would be the one piece of advice you would give them?
Well, um, know for a fact
Yeah.
that this is what you really want to do.
Mm.
Don't don't join the band just because your buddy is in the band, or
Oh,
your
wow.
girlfriend's in the band, or your boyfriend's in the band. Some
Mm.
people are what I call
Mhm.
coattail hangers.
Oh,
They want to
wow.
hang on to your coattail because it looks good, it's
Oh,
glamorous.
wow. Wow. Wow.
you know.
Yeah.
So you have to know that this is really what you are called to do. You
Wow.
have to know that this is for you.
Yes.
Everybody can't do it. You know,
No.
it's a certain tenacity that you have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
stay
Yeah.
in the race.
Mhm,
The scripture said, what many are
mhm.
called, few are
Yeah,
chosen.
that's
How does it
right,
go?
that's right, that's right. That's exactly right. And you're
So
right,
just
you're right about
just
that. It's not for everybody.
it's not. And you
Mm-mm.
have to know that early on,
Yes,
and and discouragements are going to come.
yeah, right.
I could write a book on all
Oh,
the bad things that have happened, but
sure.
I try to focus on all the good stuff.
Wow.
I'm a very positive guy. If you
Yes,
follow me on my Facebook page, I
yes,
don't I don't
very
post
positive.
anything negative.
Nope, you
I don't.
don't.
I keep it positive. I don't care
You
what's
do.
going on in the world.
Yep.
I just try to keep a
Yes.
positive glance at
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
And not
yeah.
that I'm oblivious to what's
Yeah,
going
I
on.
get it. I get it. I get it.
It's
Yeah.
just there were so many sources for negativity.
Yeah,
I don't
right,
want to be
right.
one of those sources.
Exactly. And
At least for you.
since you mentioned them, do you think that has been one of the things that has helped you to stay focused? Just really choosing to be positive? Because I think that may be some sort of a key for things, as far as going forward and moving forward. What do you think?
A- Absolutely. Positivity has a way of, bringing life.
Yeah,
Negativity has a way of bringing death.
definitely,
you
definitely.
know,
Yeah.
and, you know, for those that follow me on my page, I try to
Mhm.
bring balance. I
Yes.
don't just always talk about music. I
Right.
talk about the family, the stuff that we're
Right.
doing, what my
You
kids
do.
are doing.
You
Because
do.
even though I am a musician,
Yeah.
I do have life away from the stage.
Don't go away. We will be right back. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Elevate Talk Show, and today we're going to be talking about tips for helping your children navigate social media.
Absolutely, absolutely. Social media can be tricky for experienced users like us adults, and it can be particularly hard to navigate for kids. And so Adriana and I thought that this would be a good topic to talk about so that we can help families, parents, kids navigate the social media experience and make it a safer, better overall experience for everyone. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Very, very important. So let's start off with tip one. What would be the first social media tip that you want to share with our audience?
Well, the first tip to share that I'd like to share is to just talk to your kids about the best way to navigate social media.
Right.
I mean, make sure they know that it's important to treat people how they would want to be treated
Exactly.
online, and to tell them that it's really important to keep their comments positive and to understand the risks of using social media,
Right.
like not posting anything that could reflect poorly on them,
Right,
like a embarrassing picture at a party, because
True.
you know people do look at it, like
Yes.
future employers
Yes.
or new acquaintances do look at your social media and judge you based on it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I think for me, tip number two would be, a social media tip number two would be to educate parents, educate yourself about the various types of social media. I will tell you that there's a lot more social media platforms than I ever knew about. You've told me about some. As I was researching this topic for this particular episode, I saw social media platforms I had never heard of before. So I'm just going to mention a few of the more popular ones. You want to know about some of the more popular ones that you want to know about would be Instagram. And Instagram lets you use a snap, edit, and share photos and 15-second videos either publicly or privately with a network of followers. And then there's TikTok, which I'm just now becoming more familiar with as a platform. And it's a performance video sharing social network that mostly features teens lip syncing to famous songs, but it also includes some original songwriting and some singing. And then there's Snapchat, which I've never used before, but I know it's particularly popular, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Amongst young people.
Yeah.
Snapchat is a messaging app that lets users put a time limit on the pictures and videos they send before they disappear. So I guess you upload something and then it
disappears.
just disappears after
Yeah.
a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Oh, but you set the time?
You can set the time.
Okay, I didn't know that. It says that most teens use the app to share goofy or embarrassing photos without the risk of them going public. Is that
Yeah.
what it is? And then the other one that's very popular, of course, would be Twitter, which is a micro-blogging tool that allows users to post brief 140-character messages called tweets, and to follow other users' activities. So those are just a few. I don't know, maybe there are more that you have heard of or know about.
Yeah,
I know there's a ton.
lots of different social media.
Yeah. It's and another good idea would be just to ask your child what their favorite social media platforms are, and just to get feedback from them, and then to go another step and ask them to show you how they work. That's a really, really good way to educate yourself, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's another one that we want to share?
Well, another thing to share with your kids is to go over social media privacy guidelines
Yes.
and settings.
Yeah, don't assume they know.
Yeah, to make sure that they are not sharing personal information like phone numbers, dates of birth, or location with people that they don't know.
Exactly.
Not to ask other people for their, personal information
Oh, okay.
unless it's somebody they know.
Right, so no
And
phone
to-
numbers and all that kind of addresses, those kinds of things?
Yeah, like to disable features like posting to multiple social media sites at once,
Yes.
and to keep their passwords and logins
Yeah.
private and not to share these with friends. And also another important one, especially if you're at school,
Yeah.
is to log out after using a public
Yes.
computer,
That's
like in a
right.
library or a classroom.
Sure, so nobody can come back and just jump on your account.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all super important things that we need to not take for granted. And we don't need to assume that they know it because they don't. Because there's a lot of adults that don't know it.
Yeah.
Don't you think? So we don't need to assume these are actual steps that are important to take with our kids. I think for the next tip, I think considering setting an age restriction for younger children is a really good idea as far as social media is concerned. If you feel like your child needs to wait, that's okay. And here are some options that you can think about and talk about with your child. Consider making a compromise. What if your child uses a family social media account until they're old enough to get on their own? I know this wasn't really the case with social media so much, but when you were young and you were doing email, we had you on a family account. You used my account or your dad's account, and you were able to send emails and things that way. And that kind of eased you into the whole online process, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a really good, that could be a good compromise. We'll let you on social media, but you're using a family account. Also, there are family-friendly, and I just found this out, platforms, social media platforms like YouTube Kids and Messenger Kids. These have really strong safety settings, and they have age-appropriate content. So those are things that you really should consider if you want your child to wait. And what's one final tip, Age?
Well, our final tip is to make a social media family plan. That way it'll give your kids and the other members of your family a guideline for how to use social media responsibly.
Definitely.
I mean, this plan can include when it's okay to use social media and how long your child to spend on social media.
Right, and where?
Whether it's okay to use social media during family meals or homework time and so on, and also where it's okay.
Sure.
Such as like in the family areas of the house,
Or
rather than in like private bedrooms.
Yeah, those are all really, really good things to establish ahead of time. That way everybody knows up front what's expected, and sometimes just knowing what's expected is half the battle, and it can avoid a lot of issues and angst.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we hope that these tips will help you to navigate social media with your kids, and help your kids navigate social media better and safer. So stay tuned with us. We're going to take a little break, but don't go away. Welcome back, and now we are ready to share with you our Around the Town adventure. And this week, our Around the Town time takes us to St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember. We went there because I had a robotics competition, and we got to see the arch and see the downtown area, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, lots and lots of fun. So stay tuned and take a look at our video to St. Louis, Missouri. This week's Around the Town takes us to St. Louis, a major city in Missouri along the Mississippi River. One of the first things we saw as we drove into the city was the iconic 630-foot Gateway Arch, built in the 1960s, which honors the early 19th century explorations of Lewis and Clark. After stopping at the America's Center Convention Complex and dropping our daughter Adriana to a first robotics competition, Andrew and I did some sightseeing downtown and eventually made our way over to the City Museum, a 10-story former shoe warehouse in downtown St. Louis. The museum consists of old materials that artists have repurposed and used to build miles of tunnels, art, bridges, and castles. The building also houses a grand gallery and a Ferris wheel on the rooftop. One of the things we like to do when we visit a new city is to get off the beaten path. So we took a short drive out to the city of Ferguson, Missouri to see the sights of the suburbs. As we drove around looking at the various neighborhoods, we saw lovely homes with manicured lawns and a park with a lake and a school nearby. We also came across a low-income housing project with a faded memorial for Michael Brown Jr., the young man killed by police in 2014. We then made our way back to the Delmar Loop to view an 8-foot-tall statue honoring St. Louis native and rock and roll pioneer Chuck Berry. Before leaving St. Louis, our family visited the Goody Goody Diner, a restaurant that's been a part of St. Louis dining tradition since 1948, and we had a delicious Southern breakfast. St. Louis is definitely a city to see, so make sure to include it on your list of places to visit. Well, we need to take another little break, but don't go away. We'll be back. Well, we're back and our time together is almost done. But before we go, we want to share with you some pictures from a viewer, my friend Angela Paul, sent to us. And these are pictures of some family heirlooms that were passed down to her from her mother. And she wanted to share them with our Elevate audience to elevate your life and ours too. So take a look at our video from Angela Paul. Our viewer, Angela Paul, shared with us that her mother, Malzie Robinson, passed away in January, and one of the many tasks that had to be tackled before selling her mother's home was assessing her mom's silverware. So she recently made a trip down to Columbus, Georgia, with her sister, Leah Phillips, to accomplish this matter. Although her sister Leah was listed in the will to get 2 8-piece place settings with serving pieces, to Angela's surprise and delight, her sister gave her a set, which she was not expecting at all. Angela also shared that she and her sister spent quite a bit of time boxing up their mother's Rosenthal, china, and crystal. Her mother had 8 different types of stemware, which included water goblets, iced tea, juice glasses, and champagne glasses, as well as white and red wine glasses and brandy sniffers. Although her parents came from humble beginnings, Angela said that she was very proud that her mother was so smart and resourceful to obtain many of the things a Southern hostess would need to properly host an occasion. She said that she's very thankful for all the wonderful memories of her amazing mother. Well, we want to thank our viewer, Angela Paul, for sharing those lovely photos of her family heirlooms. We really appreciate her for doing that. And we want to give you an opportunity to share with us something that you're doing to elevate your family, or something that has happened to your family that has just elevated y'all's lives. So please share that with us. And Adriana is going to tell you how to do that.
Yes, so to share your story with us, go to the Elevate channel and subscribe. Then email your story and your pictures to elevateytchannel@gmail.com. And you can also become a friend of the Elevate Talk Show's Facebook page, and that will allow you to share your stories and pictures with us there as well.
That's right. And we also want to remind you that the Elevate Talk Show is on our YouTube channel. On Sunday evenings, we usually post a new episode each Sunday evening around 6 or 7 p.m. So please check us out. Also, you can stream the show on decab25.com. If you go to decab25.com, you can stream the Elevate Talk Show there as well.
So thank you for watching the Elevate Talk Show, and we can't wait to see you next time.
All right, have a great week. Bye now.
Bye.